Hey guys, it's Retro Rose here. Welcome back to another Mushy Monday where we play cute, cozy games. And today we're continuing our life now and forever. Now, I'm going to attempt to try to show you guys all of the new content in this video. You'll know if I've been successful or not at it. It's probably going to be an hour long or so. And then I'm going to finish this whole section up. And then I'm going to do all of the moments in one big video too. So without further ado, let's continue. There was nothing left to do then, and that's when Tamarak spoke for the first time since she got into Quay's yard. Let's go, Quay's gonna be home before dinner. He could catch us. Or his parents might see it. I've never talked to them. Who knows what they'd do? A thrill tingled over you and you nodded. Right. You fled the scene of the crime. Or was it a crime if you leave things instead of taking their stuff? It didn't matter. You weren't gonna find out. The two of you were around the bend and sprint, kicking up a whirl of leaves behind you. Not you or her looked back. Tamara got past the stone pathway like it was the finish line of a race and crumpled into the grass laughing. But the giggles turned into achy yips when she landed all the way down. Ow, ow, I fell on rocks in my pocket. She laughed some more and owed more too, each one taking its fair turn. Are you okay? Tamarak rolled off her side to settle on her tummy. She squished her big cheeks against her little fist and kicked her feet in the air. The rubber boots flopped around on her feet. She looked up at you, her smile puffed at the sides like it did a lot, and it was an invitation to join her below. You did, sitting carefully on the cool lawn in front of her. Quay cleaned up trash, and now he's going to get a surprise from the forest thanks to us. Even though the two of you were in the ground, your moods were as high as the sky. It was cool and weird that you were playing in a friend's backyard. When did that happen? How did it happen? Moved into this town, Tamrak sprung out at you, and you've pretty much been together since. Even your brains had gotten in sync because Tamrak started talking about the same thing. Rose, out of all the friends I've ever had, you're the best. It still surprised you that she said that. You'd heard it before a long time ago. You first came to her house. If she's gonna say it again, you figured it would have happened way before, but she wanted to do it then. She kept going. We came to the same exact neighborhood, almost at the same time, and are the same age. We're both girls. You have fun outside, and I do too. I've never ever met a kid who was like me, just like me. That's important, that's serious. Demrick started shouting and sucked in the loudness with a breath, and what came out next was low. You had to really listen to know. And you and me are going to be friends forever. These words were something more than a regular promise, more than a pinky promise too. It was a swear. Not the bad kind of swear though. Best friends forever. We did change to best friends. Her dark red eyes were perfectly round apples hanging in a bushy tree of golden leaves. They shone. The swing and searching, the secret trip to Quay's house, each were complete. And at that point, you were pretty sure Tamarak's final plan was to stay right there until the grass grew around her. It was that moment when a door creaked open and two smiling faces looked over the yard. Ma and Tamarak's grandma came to get you. It was hard to imagine that they were spent this whole time sitting in the living room. Hi, Rose. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we gotta get going. Aw, bye, Rose. I'm gonna stay outside. Sending a smile to Ma, you push yourself to your feet. Bye, Tamarak. Miss Bam Mom didn't even question Tamarak remaining laid out in the grass. She left her granddaughter there and guided her guests in through the back door up to the front one. Why couldn't you have gone around the house instead of through it? It was too late to tell them that because it was already done when you'd realized it. Miss Bam stopped at the entryway, opening the door and fitting herself into a rare opening between the furniture to clear the path. Your Ma kept going past her, nice and orderly. On the porch, Ma halted and turned. The hostess had moved to stand in the doorway, so they were face to face. It was so good to meet you two. I'm sure we'll see each other more often. Good day. Of course, goodbye, and thanks for the talk. Miss Bama nodded completely. Miss Bama nodded kindly and slowly pressed the door forward. Ma waved until she was doing it to a plank of wood and the door was shut. Then she let her hand drop to talk to you. Busy day, huh? That was good. The word went high and the sound of relief instead of low, which could have been real contentment. Instead of just something good happening, it was more like when you avoid something bad happening. That was still good, but in a different way, that if nothing had been at stake, time to go. Except before you left the Baymont porch, something made you stop in your tracks. There was a stranger strolling into the cul-de-sac, rolling a bike along with him. It was almost as long as the person was tall. The sight had a totally different impact on your mind. It pulled her forward. Oh, Mr. Lin. That's right. That's his dad. Mr. Lin, like Mr. Quaylin? That's Quay's dad, probably. It could be an uncle or a way older sibling. Yep. He wore a pale green sports jacket and also nice black dress pants. His hair was super neat, but styled in a funny way that most grown-ups didn't have. That kind of introduced him to you without needing to say a word. Mr. Lin, however, was a real professional, but not all strict about it. Though, wait, why did your ma already know that? How do you know him? What? We've talked about him many times, and you know Quay, that's his father. Okay, Quay's dad it was. That didn't answer your real question. You racked your brain for the past conversations your ma was talking about. Nothing came up. Yeah, I know Quay, but I've never heard anything about his dad. Confusion screwed up her face. She was convinced that you knew as much as you were sure that you didn't. Wait, that's right. Suddenly she laughed and pressed her hand to her cheek. I never called him by his name to you. It's the real estate person who helped us find our house. Oh. Memories of Ma pacing around in your old apartment getting excited whenever the real estate person would call with news play behind your eyes. That was Quay's dad on the other line the whole time. I've seen his picture. He has a website, and we chatted over the phone. Yesterday was the first time we met in person. That's who I was waiting for to get the keys from. We'd arrived extra early, and he couldn't break away from some other appointments until that evening. You glanced away from your own parent to Quay's. It was easy to see how the two were related. They both looked really pleased with themselves and the whole world, even when nothing was happening. Quay was definitely the cooler of the two, though. When you turned back to Ma, she had a huge, encouraging smile on her face. Let's see him over there. It'd be hard to move the bike for him to come to us. Ma's attention was split between gesturing to Mr. Linton to stop and getting you to go with her. One of her hands went up and the other went down. Hello. Quay's dad reined in the moving bike and stood in place. Next, he waved. Hello, Miss Smith. What a coincidence running into you out here. Good seeing you again. It's nice to see you too. This is my daughter, Rose. So she's the one. Hi, Rose. Your real estate agent folded his arm and tilted his head down. The hair in front of his face fell away, letting you see him clearly. This is the big moment. I can finally introduce myself after hearing so much about you. From your ma, of course. But Quay had his own contributions. It feels like meeting a celebrity in person. Well, yeah, Quay told you himself. He's talked to his parents about what happened yesterday. Mr. Lin knew things about you from the two different people. Hello, Mr. Lin. You're so polite. Then Mr. Lin adjusted his glasses on the topic of conversation. Welcome officially to the neighborhood. I want to come by to see how you were settling in, but I wasn't sure when would be a good time. I hope to catch you both. There's an unfamiliar car in the road. Guessing that's yours, but the house is dark. Neither of you look to be around. Yes, that's ours. Sorry you missed us. We were meeting the neighbors to the right. Emret kindly invited Rose and me to her home. We had talked to Dorothea and briefly saw Ernest passing by. Don't apologize, that's perfect. If you get a chance to visit Baymont House, I'd say take it. And now you can come meet the other neighbors. Well, one other. You're already well acquainted with Quay and said our hellos here. You have time to swing by? Personally, I'd love to introduce myself to Miss Lin. She was really only answering for herself. Your ma asked for your thoughts before deciding on another meet and greet. Can we see Quay's mom, Rose? Okay, thank you. We can stop by now. That's great. Give me just a moment. Mr. Lin patted the handle of the bike, bringing attention to it. That's something he needed to deal with. He coaxed a set of wheels to move with an expert hand. He got it across the road, up the curve, over the grass, and onto Quay's, also his entryway. Mom gradually made the same trip. She kept a lot of distance between her and the real estate man, not wanting to risk even a slim chance of getting in the way. You went along Ma's pace, so you stayed together. Mr. Lin rapped his knuckles on the white door of the red house. He busied himself during the wait by tapping the bike handle instead and humming a soft tune. Someone, though it was probably Quay's mom, opened it halfway in an attempt to attend to a guest. The door was thrown open all the way the second the person realized who was there. Hello, honey. Oh? Did you lose your kioski? With an unapologetic laugh, Mr. Lin stretched past the bike front wheel to greet his wife by kissing her cheek. No, I wanted you to come over. I figured this would be the quickest way. Our neighbors are here. Hmm? Mr. Lin peered further on, and there were the neighbors, you and Ma. Still staring ahead, Miss Lin stepped forward just in time to bump into her husband. He made a move to get into the fenced area of the porch. Miss Lin gasped, and the bike shuddered a metal cry. Miss Lin hastily grabbed the seat cushion to steady it. She leaned to the right of her next attempted to pass, so did Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin settled on pressing his back to the little wall by the door while holding up the bike against himself. Miss Lin finally managed to shuffle by and reach the sidewalk, but not before muttering bashfully, "Sorry, sweetheart. It's no trouble. Go on." Miss Lin let out a breath to recompose her normal self after the unintentional dance with her husband and her husband's bike. Her clothing were light blue. Her hair was blue too, the way darker though. Whenever she lifted her legs to walk, the creases of her dress moved like flower petals in a breeze. There was something so peaceful about it. Even her voice drifted along gently. "I'm Mrs. Whelan. Or Wylan. If you're the new neighbors, you must be Mrs. Opal and Rose Smith. Is that true?" "Yes, precisely." Ma reached forward, offering a shake. Miss Lin grasped your ma's hand with one of her own and covered the top of it with her other hand. The two didn't exactly shake. Really, they squeezed each other for a second. They were hugging, but not with hands. After Miss Lin carefully unwrapped her fingers from Ma, her gaze drifted downward. Miss Lin curled into a blueberry ball, bringing her chin to her knees, and the edge of her spotless dress brushed the grass, but it brought her eyes level with you. "Hi." She held up her hand for you to take it too. You never would have guessed that was going to happen. Most adults didn't act like you were a grown-up or that kids could be treated the same way as grown-ups was. You happily shook. You happily shook. It didn't hold you in place and move up and down with your motion. "It's nice to meet you, Rose." And she pushed off the ground and stand up perfectly straight in one fluid motion. You seem how much Quay and his dad were alike because they're matching confidence. It was the same thing with his mom, except you needed a little imagination to make the connection. Miss Lin was put on super ultra fast forward. It looked a lot like how Quay treated people. But now you've seen everyone who lived on the street plus some extras. All the other kids were about your age or 2 or 3 years older. For adults, it was a lot trickier to put together ages, except for Tamarack's grandparents. They were absolutely the oldest. But when it came to non-grandparent grown-ups, 2 of them could be 1 year apart, have a 10-year difference with almost no way to tell. 10 years was the length of your entire life. It was impossible to imagine having that much time just being an adult. Your best conclusion was that Mrs. Murray would probably be the youngest grown-up person, and your ma and Quay's parents were somewhere in the middle. You wondered how your ma felt finding out that there were 2 people around her age, maybe in the neighborhood. Was that a big deal to adults too? Was she going to make friends with them like you did with Quay and Tamarack? Could someone her age be friends with people who had been around as long as Granny and Mr. Bayamon, or did that not work? Grandparents were double adults, super adults. Ma kind of acted like they were regular grown-ups, as respectful to them as kids had to treat her. But one way or another, Ma was going to have to make life in Golden Grove along with these people too. I'm sorry to be the last one of my family who came to meet you in person. Don't worry about that. Mom had a huge advantage, all things considered. Your ma quickened her lip good-humoredly. Oh, excuse me. Although Quay also beat you to it, that was a closer race. Oh, a joke, a teasing one even. Mom made an attempt at being less professionally polite. You watched on as the adult interaction, wondering how it turned out. Ooh, good. Excuse me. Seemed to go gently well. It seemed to go pretty well because Miss Lynn laughed. Miss Lynn laughed. He was very excited. There's never been another kid next door until now, when two have come to this at the same time. Well, I hope Rose and I have lived up to the expectation. I'd like to make a good impression on the magnanimous Quay Lin. The other Mr. Lin came over and joined the conversation, showing off his now free hands with a shrug. He had gotten the bulky blue into the porch GL behind the mailbox so he could stop pulling it around for a second. Quay has been out of his friends since school ended, so we have yet to hear about what happened when he popped by your house in the morning. But I'm certain the new neighbors, Miss Opal Smith, will get a glowing report over dinner. Thank you. I'm usually the one giving performance reviews. Who knew it was nerve-wracking to be on the receiving end? Oh yes, terrifying. That was the type of humor your mom liked. Dealing with people was her whole job. She would play pretend that it is something challenging. You didn't know Quay's mom well enough to be sure if it was also a joke or if she meant it seriously. But you guessed away, she sounded actually scared of the idea. Plus, Mr. Lin went for an earnest answer instead of messing around. He had to know best. You ladies have nothing to fear. No one is going to give you a failing mark, trust me. And I can already report that my son is entirely stuck on your daughter. Now that is wonderful news because Rose is all over the moon about your boy. That was right, Quay. And you were already great friends. The final neighbor you met spoke sweetly and on behalf of the entire family. Well, we have to give them plenty of time to nurture their friendship. Miss Lynn slipped her arm around Mr. Lynn's. They were unified physically, legally, and in this opinion. I'm glad we're all on the same side here. Yes, that would be awesome and amazing and the very best thing. Now, I need to apologize myself for cutting this conversation short. We have to get home. There's some unpacking to do before the day is over. I absolutely do want to speak more another time, though. Oh, that's fine. Yes, we understand completely. I imagine it's a big job. Getting a new house in order always is, even when it hasn't been left to collect dust. A bit lucky. It looks as if most of the furniture already there will be worth keeping after a good scrubbing and polishing. That's so. I thought that'd be the case. It was quite a perk for the property. Seems they had good advice picking a location. That was said with a sly smile and a side eye to her husband. Mrs. Lynn had a streak of charm too. Thanks, honey. Mr. Lynn put a hand on the back of his head and one on the corner of his glasses before leaning back to laugh. He wanted to make sure nothing fell off, you guessed. But if you need help with any heavy lifting, you're welcome to let me know. I'll call Yi. She was my gymnast in college and can do more pull-ups than me. Suddenly, Mrs. Lee's eyes. Suddenly, Miss Liz's eyes darkened and went saucer wide. She couldn't get them back to normal size, so Mrs. Lynn slammed them shut instead. There wasn't a way to get the rosiness off of her cheeks. That was the biggest reaction you'd seen from Quay's mom so far. She was one who started the praising. Hung, please, we should both help if it's needed. Your ma got a chuckle out of the exchange too. There you have it. The Lyns are at your service. Thank you for your offer. Thank you for coming, Opal and Rose. You're both welcome over any time. Goodbye. Good evening. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn. With a come-along gesture angled your way, Ma turned to leave. The two of you followed the sidewalk around the center of the street. From there, you stared at the grand old building you were allowed to live in. It was yours and Ma's. After walking down the road into town, attending the school and visiting the neighbors, this place was where you were going to return at the end of a long day. A thought struck your heart as much as your brain. You were going to be seeing the view for a long time. No matter how unfamiliar each sight, sound, and person in Golden Grove was then, one day it was going to be normal. That was exciting to picture. You could be like Quay, someone who knew the ins and outs of everything. Someone who actually had memories and bonds with the place they lived in. As if the world or your ma was trying to prove this would be a regular thing for you, Ma didn't pause breathlessly at the welcome mat like she did the day before. She just took out the same black spiral keychain loop She always used and picked out one of the keys off of it to unlock the door. Ma put that house key on the coil? I guess so. Then she went in, not doubting that you do the same. You did. She hit the lights. For all your musing about normalness and regularity, when you glanced around the living room, it was a bit too familiar. You had been to school for hours, seen and done so much, while your mom was supposed to be here unpacking, so why did it look exactly the same? Almost exactly. The stuff you slept on had been put away. Still, there was the same mountain of boxes piled unevenly in a corner, the same sheets draped over the furniture. Now, if I remember correctly, we might be approaching the part where we design our bedroom, because I think she was working upstairs, cleaning stuff up. The dust you had wiped down the night before was the only hint that hadn't been transported back in time when you first saw the place. Let's get started. Yes, let's, but you should know something before we do. A sinky song Candace carried her leading words. It wasn't the living room I spent after making livable, and since it wasn't that, can you guess what it is? Your room? You're half right. That's not what I had in mind. However, I'm thinking something much better. Your new room is ready for you. It is clean, dust free, and I've already filled in some of the shelves. All you'll need to do is put out your bedding, make sure I didn't miss any of the things, and enjoy. Your room was there, waiting for you? Ma was the best. The amazement was clear on your face. Your mouth was wide open after all, and it made your ma grin widely. Well, check it out. I'll be in my own room. I've got a couple of hours of work into dressing that up, but it's not quite ready yet. Ma's pair of cranberry eyes wandered around, taking in the current state of the first floor. Ideally, neither of us will have to sleep in the living room tonight. Okay, Ma. You and Ma kept walking together upstairs in the hall. Your paths parted ways. Your room was the one closest to the stairs. The main bedroom was furthest away. The room in between those remained a mystery. So this is Ma's room. That's ours, and that's the mystery room. You never lived in a house with extra space before. The apartments from before barely fit to the two of you. Anything was possible now. Grasping the cold metal handle, you pressed it down and the knob twisted until it was pointing straight at the floor and it was stuck. You had to give the door a real push to get it free from the frame. Once it had gotten past the initial jam, it moved with ease. So you watched the tall door swing open and stepped inside. Ah! Okay. Mm-hmm. Kind of like 5. Okay. This is so cute. Undone. Well, your room was something was something any kid would be proud of. It had taken until nighttime to get your things just how you wanted them. You stepped into the corner to admire your handiwork. Floor space of the room is bigger than your last one. The ceiling was a lot lower though. It sloped with the roof of the house, and the windows were angled towards the treetops in the sky. I've always kind of wanted to like stay in a room like that. You never even seen the room shaped like that before. It was weird. And then there was a knock and a voice. The tilting roof caught the sound and directed them straight down into your ears. Rose, can I come in? Yes. The handle jiggled and jerked, and the door was resistant to Ma opening it too. She figured it out and let herself in. Hello, dear. Not so discreetly, Ma surveyed your efforts at decorating. Arching your back and holding your breath, you braced yourself for a second opinion. Looks great in here. You did a good job unpacking. Air flew out of you like one of the windows had burst open. You've been so pleased with the space. It would have been terrible if someone came and said it wasn't no good. I'm pretty much finished myself, but it's late. Let's take a break from that and chat. It's been a long day all around and back and forth. Sure, Ma. Okay, here goes. We're still not entirely done, even now. Ma pulled her folded arms in even more and her mouth pinched too. We should talk about how things will be once I'm back to work. Oh, that's right. I won't be able to drop you off or pick you up from school most days. I'm sorry. It does seem common for kids in this town to walk or ride bikes, to class at least. Um, you had a bike. That was another thing Ma made extra sure got moved to the house along with your backpack. She must have known it could come in handy. It'll be up to you if you'd rather go on foot or use your bike. You got to see the way there, and you shouldn't even be the only one on the path. You weren't scared to do stuff without her, but you like spending time with Mom. It would have been fun to go together at least sometimes. Well, she had to do her job. You just have different kinds of fun. Accepting the inevitable, you nodded. All right, that's one matter attended to. Here's part two. What do you do after you make it back from school? You'll be done with your classes a few good hours before I'm off the clock. Miss Bayamon and I were talking while you were outside with Tamarack. She offered to keep an eye on you when I'm away. She's retired and insisted that it be no trouble. That means you can go to Tamarack's house for the afternoon, or it can be Miss Bayamon's popping in every now and then to check on you if you're playing at home or outside. Tamarack is already your friend, so it's not as if she'd mind you being around regularly. Ma held up one finger and kept on with the explanation. Of course, that's not the only choice. We've got options. While I didn't get a chance to officially ask, I bet the Lynns would be equally fine if you wanted to hang out at their place. They're good people. I know Mr. Lynn decently well at this point. Plus, their son would certainly extend an invitation to visit whenever you want it. He's sociable, and even I can see you're in with him. I can also look into lessons and extracurricular being offered in town. You could do that some days instead of staying in the neighborhood. Maybe you'd want to take up an instrument or learn how to dance. I would be able to come and get you from there when it's done. And the hand finally came down. That must have been all the possibilities she could think of. I like those ideas. Looks like I don't need to worry. Ma stopped squeezing herself as much then. Still, there's no plan out for the rest of our lives tonight. The two of us will figure it out. That was something you heard a lot. No matter what you went through, your mom never stopped believing you and her would manage. For a moment, she gazed past you at nothing in particular. Sometimes it felt strange, remembering you were actually there when all of your stuff had to keep up with stopped. And you could just think maybe your mom felt that too. She blinked her eyes and fell back on you. Ma smiled. But our neighbors are certainly nice, huh? All 6 of them. We had a lot of luck here. Luck couldn't even begin to describe the incredibleness of what moving here brought. No words were needed for her to understand your thought on it. Your face said enough. With a grin, Ma stuck her hands out of her jeans. Well, over her jeans. Now, if you don't mind me changing the subject to an entirely different matter, let me just say it's dinner time. As a reward for how much we've done, and because the loaf of bread is out at this point, and also because even if it wasn't, I don't want another sandwich. I'm taking the 2 of us out. I've heard that the local diner is a gem. You hugged her. Then there's nothing else to discuss. Food it is. Wait, you had a huge realization. What about Tamarack and Quay? You rented your friends to go with you. If your friends could go with you, that'd be great, and you wouldn't be stuck with, oh no. The more the merrier, that's what you thought. You only just got to this town. It was hard to do anything good when you didn't know anything and almost everything you had was sealed away in a cardboard box. But having somebody take you out to dinner was even bigger deal than all of that. How many kids could do it? Not many. It cost money. So Quay went over to Darren's house, didn't he? But Miss Murray said she had to bring him home by dinner time. That was right. So you swallowed those words hard. Hopefully you weren't going to bother him for nothing. Ma? She tilted her head gently, pointing the chin downward. She had her attention. Yes, Rose? I was wondering, what about, can they go? Oh, interesting. I couldn't guarantee that both of them will get to do this on such short notice. However, I am, at least I'm not saying no. Let me see what I can do. That answer was both a relief and a new source of uncertainty. It was easy to get your ma to listen. What happened next would be the real test. Ma hunched over to reach around herself. She was never without a chunky silver cell phone. I'm crying. It had lived in her back pocket for years. The sheen of the paint had nearly worn away, and one corner of the screen had a snowflake-shaped crack. Oh my God. But it only needed to work according to your ma anyway. Ma managed to get the too thick phone out of her too thin pocket, and she balanced it in her palm of her hand confidently. With that, nothing more could stop her, hopefully. One of the other things that happened while you were outside with Tamarack is that I got Miss Bayamon's home and cell phone numbers. I'm nothing if not productive. I can call her up right now. After a few quick taps, she brought the phone to her ear and waited. And she kept waiting, and so did you. How many times did it ring? How many times were you left until it hung up? How long did it take to answer the phone? Finally, there was a sign of something. Ma's lip pulled into a polite smile, and her eyes widened eagerly. The biggest hint, though, was that she started talking to Tamarack's grandma. Oh, Miss Bayamon, I'm sorry to bother you at this hour. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Your mom, quiet down again. She was listening attentively. Nothing to do but wait. It was a ringing phone all over. If only you could hear what was happening too. Ma thought it was bad manners to share phone conversations unless the person was already expecting that. Privacy was priceless, especially when breaches of trust could get a company sued. Miss Bayamon must have had a lot to say in the conversation she didn't know was going to happen, because Ma stayed totally silent for a while. A couple of times her mouth began to open like she was about to say something, but then it had snapped back up and listened some more. On her third attempt to speak, your ma succeeded in getting the words out. Well, since you haven't settled down for the night, I wanted to ask if Tamarack might be able to come over for dinner. Rose and I are going to try out the local diner. Ah! Ma's face had twisted into a wince. Even you caught a loud, Granny exclaimed. You wanted to know what was being said, but not like that. The shout wasn't enough to scare off your mom. She regained her poise and pressed on. Yes, that's the one. You're familiar with it then? There was a nodding and humming for another minute or so like that until, thank you, Rose and I are grateful for that. On saying your name, Mom made eye contact. A wordless understanding passed between the two of you. Mission accomplished. Well, come by and get her in just a few minutes. Thank you again. Goodbye. Ma jabbed her hand to the phone with gusto. Tamarack can join us. Miss Bayamon is a fan of the diner herself. She thought it'd be a lovely way for you young ones to celebrate the first day of school. Oh, thanks, Mom. That's one down. She winked. Luckily, I have Mr. Lynn's number for quite a while now. He shouldn't be surprised by a call from me. I'll check to see if he's free to talk. Ma clicked along the phone to find the next contact, then it went straight to the side of her head again. Shocking to you and her, Ma got a response in a matter of seconds. Hello, Mr. Lynn. Good evening to you. I'm sorry if this is a bad time. No, everything's completely fine. Then a rapid conversation came to a pause on Ma's end, her lips pressed together in silence. It didn't last long. She was smiling again in less time than it took to tie your shoes, if you were good at doing that. That's wonderful. Oh, the reason I called is that we were curious if Quay might be able to join us for dinner tonight. I'm taking Rose and Tamarack out to the local diner. It'll be my treat. Oh. Another tiny pause happened. Her grin grew more over the space of it. She even laughed at something. Yes, I can imagine. The pair of parents and chuckled a couple more times. At least you assumed Mr. Lynn was in a good mood. It'd be weird if Ma was amused by him being mad. And then the call wrapped up. Thank you. All right, goodbye. The sense of finality, your mom stuck her phone into its home in her jeans. 2 for 2. Mr. and Mrs. Lynn are apparently entirely used to these kinds of requests. He had to joke that whenever he gets a call on his phone, his own phone, there's at least 50% chances actually for Quay. Was that why he finished the conversation so fast? Maybe it had to do with his job. Either way, Quay's dad got stuff done. I'm sorry for Mr. Lynn having a lobby that many queries. But it works out for us. That means Quay can come along. A dinner with your ma and you. It happened basically every single day of your life. A dinner at a diner you'd never been before didn't happen much. But a dinner with Tamarack and Quay had never happened before. Thank you for asking, Ma. Of course. A ma smile as you did. We shouldn't keep them waiting. Put on your sweater. I'll get my scarf. It'll be chilly out there, and I'm starving. Same for you. Your stomach was huge, empty pit, and if you didn't eat soon, it might suck you in. You did everything you could think of doing before leaving as fast as you could. Then you were braving the unknown in search of sustenance and your friends. Oh, you were outside at night. That's not the same as walking around during the daytime. The orange-hued street lamps glowed like torches. The formerly orange trees turned into unnatural purple, and the tarmac expanse of the cul-de-sac could easily be perfectly still in this deep lake. If you tripped, you could fall and disappear forever. That kind of sounded like the start of a story. Ideas of what might happen on such a perilous adventure were already filling your head, but Ma wouldn't let you play in the dark. You shook off the daydream, night dream, or would a night dream be a normal dream? Either way, you focused on not being left behind. You and your Ma passed through the gate around your yard, then approached the rectangular gray house for the second time that day. Even in the limited light, a pop of sparkle color stood out. Tamarack was already there. She elected to wait outside with her scarf and bag in tow. You made eye contact across the grassy patch between your homes and hers. Rose. Flinging her hands in the air, she zoomed out from the porch to meet you. Tamarack went so fast, her floppy boots threatened to slide off her feet. Crying. Tamarack. You ran to meet her part way. Ma trailed behind you, letting out a noise that was part laugh and part huff. I hadn't realized how urgent this reunion was. It is. Hi, Rose and your ma. Thank you for letting me come. You're very welcome, Tamarack. We're happy to have you join us. We're going to get Quay, too. Yeah, we all gotta go. Now, a trio, you strolled down the sidewalk until you were completely around the opposite side of the curve. Ma tapped on the doorbell one single time. The sound of it was speedy ding-dong, and then it was done. Even Quay's house was straight to the point. You were left huddled on the dark porch for less than a second. There he is. The one who answered was Mrs. Lynn. It wasn't either the adults, it was Quay himself. Standing in the doorway, he was all lit up from behind, the cast hard shadows over his features. Autumn's face was still amazingly bright on its own like magic. Hey, I haven't seen you two in forever. We missed the whole best part of the day. Hi, Quay. Yeah, way too long. Quay's hand settled on his hips as he leveled an amusement. I must want to go to a park. Level an amused glance at you. You hugged him with both your arms? You hugged him with both arms? Up, and you held on tight. Whoa. The sturdy fabric of his jacket crinkled resistantly against your squeeze. His notebook in the secret pocket poked your stomach, and the fur encircled his face scratched your nose. What you noticed most was that under all the layers of snags, Quay was a soft kid. He patted your back with gentle, rhythmic movements while resting his chin on your head, and you both were quite comfortable there. His gaze lifted high so he could greet your ma too. Thanks for getting me dinner, Miss Smith. Thank you for coming on such short notice. That's nothing. I've got lots of time. I can come over whenever. Good to know. And so everybody invited to dinner was there. Together, you went to the center of the street again. Ma unlocked her car. Tamarack asked for the middle again, and she got it. Quay scratched his head over that one. It was kind of mysterious without her explanation. Tamarack only wanted a window seat in school. He was cool with not being stuck in the middle himself, though. Rapidly, her car rolled into motion. Trees after street, post after tree flew past. You couldn't see anything. It will see anything else. Unfortunately, Ma also wasn't sure what she was looking at. She had trouble figuring out exactly where the local diner was. The radio had to stay off. This required the utmost focus. That didn't mean it was a silent drive. It was loud, actually. Sitting tall at the edge of his seat and gestured wildly, Quay offered his best advice on which road to take and when. At the same time, Tamarack was bouncing in her seat and shouted out stuff she remembered seeing on the way to the diner the first time she'd been there. Neither of them could give directions very well. It was wrong or entirely impossible to understand unless you were within their own heads. Ma was patient though. She never gave up. In the end, on the outskirts of Golden Grove, he found the place. Cheers, foot stomps, and hand claps filled the car when Quay and Tamarack spotted a massive lit up sign saying the diner table. It had to be what you were looking for. Diner was the name. Ma noticed that too. She wound the steering wheel to turn into a parking lot, a weary smile playing on her face. The diner table, not the dinner table? Someone didn't get an A in their spelling test. I bet they got an F, possibly. It's always been named that. That doesn't mean it wasn't an accident originally, but memorable at least. The car came to a stop under the glow of the building. There was no lamp in the parking lot, but that only made the area more noticeable. Light poured from the front windows, larger than you were, and it was a beacon of hospitality deep in the forest and high on the mountain. After a quick head count, all four of you went out. Ma led the way to the entrance. She held the door open and swept out her other hand as if to say, "After you." Autumn nights in Golden Grove had such a bite. You felt a comfortable shiver going from the outside of the diner to the inside. It was warm and toasty there, and even smelled warm. The inviting scent of hot food hit you first, with the whiff of smoke underneath. You could picture the grill with charred steak and hamburger sizzling. And then there was coffee too, which somehow always smelled burnt even though it was mostly liquid. Maybe that was why coffee was so dark. Someone found a way to overcook water and other people decided to drink it, including your mom, who never had a morning without it. Rubbing your stiff hand up and down your goosebump covered arms, you glanced around more. Who else decided to be there at the diner table on a chilly Monday? A man in a trucker hat jabbing a knife into a thick cut of ham, 3 sweaters clad women, each with a mug in hand, and some teenagers huddled in the back booth, splitting a stack of pancakes. Most, though, it was nobody. 10 times more people could fit, maybe 20 times, so you had a clear view of the room. The diner table was full of different colors. You could list off greens, orange, blues, yellows, yellowish ones, but all of them were dark or faded and it didn't feel colorful. Kind of like your classroom had grown up and gotten old and sleepy. This was no gym, it was a dirty clump. You didn't mind, nothing could always be new. To your left, Tamarack had settled a little from her frenzy in the car. As thrilling as it was to visit a restaurant, you could only do it if you behaved. At least that was your guess. You knew Ma would want you to act appropriately. On the other hand, or on your right, Quay stood nonchalantly, slowly shifting his weight from one foot to the other. There was nothing interesting to see there for a boy like him, except for you. He kept smirking whenever he noticed you looking. Soon a tall lady with tall hair came over from the kitchen to the main counter. She said she was the hostess and would show you to a table. Your mom negotiated for a booth instead. Plenty were open after all, and the woman agreed to those terms and grabbed some of the menus off the stand. Thank you. Mom let the employee lead from there. For her, the biggest treat of going out to eat wasn't the food. It was once she was at the restaurant, her work was done. No cooking or cleaning for a change. She didn't have a mom or dad or grandparents around to do that for her. So letting strangers she had to pay to do it was the best she could do. Well, she could get. The hostess took you further into the restaurant past the sweater gals, not far back at the pancake pals. Pancake pals is crazy. She left a pile of menus on the table, thanked you for stopping in, and promised your server would be there to help soon, and walked away in a matter of seconds. Well, let's get comfortable. Me and Rose will sit together, and that leaves the other one for the two of you. Okay. Yes, Miss Smith. That was so unfair. You could sit with your ma anytime. Tamarack was the first to clamber into the bench. She went to the very end of it and dumped her bag onto the cushion. Quay took off his jacket before fitting himself beside her. Ma slid into the muted red seat with the multicolored geometric pattern across the top. Then she patted the outer spot for you to take. You got into the booth next to her. They're so stinking cute. Tamarack busied herself by investigating the area in front of her. She had the same precision as searching through the forest. He managed to discover a soup spoon and began fiddling with it. Quay rested his thread hands on the tabletop. He leaned forward very slightly, a little bit like an interview. He was going to be asking you questions, or maybe he was preparing himself for your mom to evaluate his behavior. That was her job. McQuay didn't know that. This is nice. She spoke quietly while pursuing her options. The diner table had unyielding menus as long as your entire arm. Ma didn't bother holding it upright. Instead, she flipped through the laminated pages with the menu lying flat. There was a lamp directly above your booth. It reflected blindly off the plastic, but between the glare you caught glimpses of colorful pictures dotted in between the text. Eggs and sausage, French toast dusted with powdered sugar, a basket of chicken strips, steak and mashed potatoes. Oh, steak and mashed potatoes are so good. Especially Japanese sweet potatoes. Chef's kiss. A bright green salad and more. Diner food in its purest form. Your curiosity was piqued. There was a lot of options. Look, there's a kids section. That'd be a good place to check. Though since it's a special occasion, it's okay to get any meal, even the pricier ones. What? You were almost never allowed to do that. It goes for the two of you as well. Don't worry about anything and get whatever food you prefer. Thank you. Yeah. Any food and treating other kids? Ma was really in a good mood. Did she get a big bonus for moving or something? You could only imagine. But not for long, because another person approached the table. Yusuf, I remember them. The music threw me off. I'm so sorry for the pause. Hello, I'm Yusuf. I'll be your waiter tonight. Thank you for coming. Ah, great. Hi. Yusuf had warm brown skin and warm brown eyes. Though his hair was a cool black, he kept it up in a neat ponytail. A heavy buckle-strapped apron with a checkered pattern hid his normal clothes, and a short beard covered much of his facial features. It didn't hide his welcoming smile. I don't remember if the music was like this before. I could be wrong. Okay. He held a generic notepad and pressed a pen to it and poised for taking notes. That made you think of Autumn right away. You only realized you'd started staring at him when the smile curled up on Quay's face. He probably got why you were looking without needing to say so. You'd been thinking of him and he knew it. It was only fair. Quay thought a lot about you too. The secret joke passed and Quay turned away from you to address the server. Hey, huh? Since when can he just be casual with adults he didn't know? From the way Quay was with your mom, the one-word greeting came as a complete shock. Only to you, though. Yusuf responded in an even less expected way. Hey, this is not the usual company for you. That's right, things are changing around here. You'd forgotten for a second that Quay knew everybody and everything, even random waiters at the diner. Are they? His eyes narrowed in consideration for a second. Next, Ma got special interest from him, though a different kind. Instead of looking sharply, his expression opened up in wonder. How do you know Quay, if I may ask? You may. We're his new neighbors, Ma said with a pleased tap of the menu in front of her. We moved into Golden Grove just yesterday, actually. Immediately, Ma added clarification. She had batted her hand in the air between herself and you. Yesterday for me and her. She, then pointing to Tamarack on the opposite side, your mom continued, moved in a bit before us. She's not mine. Neither is Quay, of course. I did get permission to take them out to dinner, however. It's all above board. Tamarack swooshed the silver spoon to her cheek. She grinned at Yusuf best as she could with the utensil pressed her cheek down. There was an immediate shift in the man's attitude. He took the pen from the pad to instead fold his broad arms. Talking to a server or someone behind the counter was really different than talking to them when they weren't working. Probably because when a person is doing a job, everything they're meant to say was decided by a boss or a whole giant company. And all of a sudden, it seemed like Mr. Yusuf, the waiter, had clocked out. Welcome to town. Can I ask your names? Ah, sure. I'm Opal Smith, and this is my daughter, Rose. I'm Tamarack. I saw you before with Omi and Opa. Opa liked your beard. I thought that might have been you. Giving your Opa my thanks. His beard is nice as well. I am Mr. Kiyan Yusuf. I also live in Golden Grove. He recited an introduction exactly the way Quay would have wanted him to, well, besides spelling it out. Mr. Kinyan Yusuf might have questioned how you knew Quay first, but you were wondering the same thing about him. He lifted a notepad in front of his chest, returning to being a waiter. Can I get you anything to drink? Water is fine. Yeah, you could have asked that for her. It didn't matter how big of an occasion it was, paying for drinks at a restaurant was still going too far. Then let me rephrase. What I mean to say is, please get a drink. It'll be on the house. Oh no, you don't need to do that. I know, but I would like to do it. I'm only filling in as a server tonight. I'm allowed to make those decisions. Even when insisting on something, Yusuf had a gentle way to put his words. He could have been the narrator for a storybook, no problem. We're all neighbors in a town this small. Quay nodded along and even gave a thumbs up. They were in cahoots. Was there some kind of secret welcome committee in Golden Grove, and was everybody part of it? What's the harm in there being hospitality to those you've been seeing often? If you want to return a favor, come back another day. Well, you made a good point, Yusuf. She was being honest. Your mom wouldn't have told him if he was saying nonsense. Only reasonable argument could be tolerated, and Ma was practical, not a stickler. If you're sure, I have a cup of water and a root beer, extra ice. I haven't had that in years, and I feel festive. Ma's newly chipper mood was contagious, and Yusuf gave a rumpled chuckle. It's a festive day, is it? I imagine you'd be celebrating your new house. I could add a scoop of ice cream to that. Ooh, I love me a root beer float. She boggled at Yusuf, his many sweet suggestions, though it was with a smile. There was no reason to go through the process of accepting kind gesture again. Ma embraced it wholeheartedly. A root beer float it is. Root beer float. He repeated the words as he wrote them down, speaking even more softly than before. Wow, your mom, a person who never ordered anything more exciting than water with a slice of lemon for your entire life, was going to get a root beer float. Having it confirmed the drinks would be free brought new life to Lynn's face. He continued to put Yusuf in a separate category from other adults. No best behavior required. The gloves were completely off now, just not literally. He leaned over one elbow and put the accent voice he used whenever he talked about Baxter. Waiter, get me a hot chocolate, and I want whipped cream and chocolate syrup on top. After how indulgent Yusuf had been with Ma, Quay's request was met with the flat skepticism. Quay returned Yusuf's stare with $1 million smile, and it was easy to act like you were a rich person when nothing had to be paid for. Yusuf put a hand on the table and lowered his voice towards the younger boy, like it was some kind of negotiation. In a way it was. I'll give it to you, but powder will be stirred into water. Water? Is he lactose intolerant? Your ma blinked and stammered. That was news to her. It was news to you, too. Yusuf stood tall once again. He told the facts straight. He is. Mr. and Mrs. Lynn only let him have hot chocolate occasionally because of that. He only when it's made with water. Yeah, I'm lactose as well. That was another thing you had in common, you guess. That may be here in person, but I still follow their wishes. Fine, you can make it with water. You just witnessed an incredible downside of being a well-known, everybody was aware of what you weren't supposed to be doing, could call you out on it. Oh, Quay was a composer, not a quitter. And I still have the whipped cream. That was the most important part. Quay squeezed his hands together. The person at an interview pose morphed into a pitiful Becker act. His big shot, rich guy attitude sure hadn't lasted long. Yusef remained calm in the face of such pleading, merely scratched his hairy chin. Because I respect your parents, I won't give their son a full cup of milk, but because I'm not your parent, I can look past the bit of whipped cream today. Yeah, thanks, Uncle. Hot chocolate secured. Quay Smoothie transferred his tilt from his right elbow out towards the world to the left, the one inward to the table. He's not my real uncle. Kids he knows just get to call him that. Like how Tamarack's only is everyone's granny. Oh wow, really? You've gotten a new granny. Now you might have gotten an uncle too. This was already offering presents. Your small family of Ma and you are getting a whole lot bigger. Tamarack couldn't remain quiet for any longer. You were honestly surprised she'd waited as long as she did. Wide-eyed and rambling, Tamarack went through the process of requesting a special drink. Do you have tea? Yes, of course, various types. Then I want chamomile or apple cinnamon, please. Okay. It has to have sugar and milk in it, of course. Do you have any honey? Yusuf added notes, one after the other. Keeping track of what she didn't want likely would have been easier. He laughed about it. Yes, I will bring you out everything you have for teas to you. The young lady swished her spoon around like a conductor's baton, and the drink order had been a grand opera. Woo! Wonderful. You should get something fun. It's the first day of school. It's the only reason to celebrate. Now, what do you want, Rose? Just remember, your parent is here, and she wouldn't want you to get anything too much milk either, because I'm lactose. Yep, exactly. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Even if Rose finds a way here without you, I won't serve her milk. That's okay. I wouldn't do that anyway. I know, Rose. Still, I appreciate how responsible everyone in this establishment is. You too, huh? That's the bad club to be a part of, well. Alright, kids. But you should go on. Rose, there are plenty of options. You told the waiter you were thinking yourself, and what you say was Shirley Temple. And Shirley Temple. After a night, Yusuf transferred the pen to the same hand and held the notepad. He lowered them both. I'll return shortly with your drinks. Please take a minute to browse the menu. After he left you there, leaving the wide, purposeful stride. Mom watched him walk away. Small town hospitality is a real treat, isn't it? Yeah. You quietly glanced through the meal options. During that time, the man who had the ham and hat left. The ham was gone, he still had the hat. Then Yusuf reappeared, serving a round of drinks. You put in the dinner order before he left, and you enjoyed his gift. And enjoyed it you did. From the very first sip, it was so yummy. Quay knocked back his mug of hot chocolate with gusto and got a whipped cream mustache for his efforts. Tamarack poured in some milk, sugar, and honey that her tea spilled over to the top of the cup. She got a little level back down by bringing her face near the table and sucking up the drink without touching the glass. Finally, she made use of the spoon she had been cradling the entire time to mix the sweet slurry. A little more dripped down the sides. Your ma savored the one-in-a-decade root beer float as slowly as possible. She didn't care if the ice cream melted. Nothing was loud or fast or busy in the diner table. A person pretty much had to take it easy in a place like that. There was no other way to be. When it arrived, the main course tasted okay. Food was food, and you'd rather not be hungry. Tamarack and Quay stuck to grown-up appropriate conversations over dinner, like what you learned in class. There was a lot of things kids could only talk about with each other. Ma shared all about her day, including horrifying stories about how she thought there was a mouse in her bedroom. After catching it underneath one of the moving boxes, it turned out to be a larger-than-life heap of dust. She insisted the bad lighting and there could have fooled anyone. And then the food was gone, sort of. You weren't able to finish everything. It was too much. And Ma hardly touched half of the side that came with her home-style meatloaf. Oh, meatloaf. Both of you would take the leftovers home for tomorrow. In a rare event, Quay and Tamarack were both totally a match. They left not one crumb nor a single drop. The plates they were empty got stacked and used as napkins to pile on top. Your mom made sure the table was neat and a mess, as a mess of dirty stuff could be. Like, total side note, like whenever I do go out to eat, and it's like maybe 3 or 4 of us, I do just take the time and like stack all of the plates and stack all of the napkins and the plates and stuff and the silverware, the cups, because it just makes their job easier for the staff. The tower of dishes caught your waiter's attention, and Yusuf approached your booth once more. He always had something in hand when he stopped by. This time it was a tray of faux leather folders. Yusuf placed it on the table. He got a better look then, and golden letters across the top. It said, "Thank you." He'd brought the check before Ma needed to ask for it. "Hello. I hope you enjoyed your meals." "They were wonderful. Thank you for asking. And thank you again for the drinks." Ma praise brought a grin to Yusuf's face. The local waiter toyed with a buckle on his apron, straightening it like it was a medal of honor pinned to his chest. He served his customers well that night. "Thank you for coming in. You pay at the front." "Sure, I'll handle it." "Oh, can we get a couple to-go boxes?" "Yes." "That's great. One more question." Ma lowered her voice in an exaggerated strained whisper, as though the people in the next booth over were secretly listening to the conversation. "The diner table?" She seriously needed an answer to that. Is it a pun on purpose, or did someone miss it in? Grimacing, Yusuf glanced over his shoulder. He shared her pain and her concern about being hurt. "I would not have chosen that if it had been up to me, but yes, it's an intended name." "Oh, there you have it. You were wrong, Rose. That's all. Thank you for your gracious help tonight, Yusuf. We feel extremely welcome." "Glad to hear it. Good night, everyone." "Night." Yusuf offered one last friendly smile, then took the pile of dishes and 2 cups off the kitchen. "Could you stand up for a minute, dear? I need to get past." You scooted out of your seat as she asked. Ma had a few words as she got up to her feet. "Stay in the booth while I'm gone. I'll come right back. Then we'll pack up leftovers and head home, okay?" "Yep." She left in the opposite direction Yusuf had gone. Her footsteps were muted thumps against the carpet. You had both to yourself then. None of the grown-ups were left. When Quay was sure of that, he abruptly stretched himself far across the table, poised like he was ready to pounce. "I found the stuff." And that was as long. Oh, I totally forgot we just did that. That was as long as he could hold the straight face. Quay erupted in laughter. "I can't believe you broke into my backyard again." "How did you know? I was gone there before." "You have? I was talking about Rose." "Oh, yeah. I've gone there lots of times whenever I wanted to get to the path." "Woo, success. Yeah. It was pretty cool, especially the free candy. Thanks." Tamarack was brimming with pride over the results of her adventure. Quay sighed softly and padding stopped. He had returned to peace. And then Tamarack gave a big stretch. You could watch her stretch her arms up, and the spoon she had sensed the movement of her legs under the table. Omi and Opa might really be asleep when I get home this time. Really? Ma stays up way later than this. Me too. Omi and Opa are kind of weird about some things. Maybe I'll have to sleep outside or hide under a bush in my backyard. What? Not really. They'll get up. Sheesh, Tamarack. That was all that she wanted to say about it. Tamarack started to look about a totally different thing. She chattered while tapping her heels against the back support of the booth. "I came to dinner places a few days ago before I'd ever seen it." "Cool. I've been here tons of times. Me and my mom and my dad are regulars." "Wow. I've never been a regular anywhere." "I bet you could be now." 2 down, 8 to go for Tamarack. 1 down, 9 to go for Rose. Or something. It could be dozens of visits to make somebody regular. 20? Quay attempted to give regular advice, tampering into nothing. He might have been one, but putting a number to what made somebody normal somewhere wasn't easy. But guess what, Rose? That question came with a low chuckle. "Omi and Opa weren't going to let me come again for weeks because of you. They were wrong. Thanks for bringing me, Rose." "You're welcome." Her bright eyes fluttered closed, and the patter of her feet kept going. It was the only sound left. Full and warm and sleepy, felt every second of what you'd been through lately. You'd done so much and met a lot of people. How that much happened in only a days. It was unbelievable. Against your will, your body slid lower in the booth. Gravity was suddenly a lot harder to resist. Sitting tall was no longer an option. Your drowsy gaze wandered towards the window and the dark night beyond. There'd been nothing in the park a lot besides the diner, not even lampposts. You hadn't expected to look at anything in particular, but it was raining. That you could see. Water streaming down the glass pane. Some point between when you walk from the car into the diner table, the first sprinkle of fall began. Inside, you could hear it happening even a little. The thump, thump, thump of Tamarac's boots was close to matching that. The rain could be nice sometimes. Some days you wished it'd go away. Relaxing even more, you stared absent-mindedly at the blank panel. Each time you opened your eyes after a slow, heavy blink, the pattern of droplets clinging to the window changed, and there were endless orange and red and yellow and golden leaves in the grove. But that wasn't everything striking about the current season. The weather, with thick gray clouds and shower of the world, was just as important as the core autumnness of the place. When you thought of fall, the picture in your head were leaves dropping, of water falling. And it had arrived. You arrived too. When your family wanted to go out to eat, you went to a local diner and the waiter there treated you special because you were the local. When you needed to leave, you had a house with a room that was all set up and waiting for you to go back to. When tomorrow came, you continued your studies as a student at North Acre Elementary School. And you were in room number 24 with Miss Murray for the teacher. When you saw your neighbors, know who they all were. And you had friends. You were going to be in this place for the rest of autumn. You'd been there still for winter, and even New Year came. Seasons would go by going with you to Golden Grove for you weren't sure how long. What you did know was that this very moment of it was now your life. Oh, okay. Detail screen. Now that you're beginning your life in Golden Grove, you can check or update the details for your character. Click on info in the right side of the screen to bring up several options. On your detail screen, you can change your stickers manually. Use your pronouns. If you have multiple, toggle dressing up sections. Okay. We already made it to moments. In our life moments, each step is, I see more here. I'm so curious if we're going to eat all these. In our life, each step is further split into moments, small glimpses of life in Golden Grove. Moments can be played in any order, and your choice in the moment can influence the other moments. You must be able to end the moment early, usually by rejecting an invitation. There are no consequences doing this, other than not seeing the story of that moment. Info? Your details. Okay. No, I don't think I want to. Max relationship. Okay. All right. So, rest positions. All right, so I'm actually going to cut it here. Thank you for joining me on this long part of our life now and forever. Like I said, when we come back, we're going to play all of these moments in one video, so get ready for that. But I thank you for joining me again on this Mushy Monday, and I hope you like and subscribe and become a part of my rose garden. The more you like and comment and interact with me, the easier it makes for me to bring you guys content to see what you guys like me to play. But again, thank you. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.